Yeah, hi there, and these comments are for one of my students, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL IBT, and I'm going to listen to an integrated speaking practice test for the TOEFL. This is known as Integrated Speaking number 4. This is reading, listening, speaking, academic. This one's very, very tough. It always is on the TOEFL test, and mine is equally as difficult as a TOEFL, maybe even harder. Alright, so I've downloaded your speaking. I'm going to go ahead and listen to it right now. I want to listen to the whole thing once without stopping, then I'll listen to it again and provide comments.
The reading and listening passages are discussing the risk of using nuclear energy. In the reading passage, the writer explains that the technology used to produce nuclear energy, it can be used to produce the nuclear weapons. In addition to that, it is explained the effect of discover the possible divergence of nuclear materials. The listening passage supports the idea of reading passage by saying it is difficult to control countries which are going to use this nuclear technology for energy or for nuclear weapons. Furthermore, the accident may happen in the nuclear plants, and give us the example of the worst accident happened in former Russia in 1986, and how much was the effect and cost of this explosion.
Okay. Alright, let's listen to it one more time. Let's go for the introduction first.
The reading and listening passages are discussing the risk of using nuclear energy.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening in both of these sources. So your introduction, however short, is effective because it states the main point of both the reading passage and the lecture.
In the reading passage,
when you say the word passage, the P, you need to pronounce that with a little bit more air. The reading passage.
The writer explains that the technology used to produce nuclear energy, it can be used to produce the nuclear weapons. In addition,
so what I would do is, you might say, well, according to the reading passage, there is a risk with what countries do with the rich uranium that they're using. Probably make that as a key idea.
To that, it is explain the effect of discover the possible divergence of nuclear materials. The listening passage supports the idea of reading passage by saying it is difficult.
Okay, here's where you're running into some trouble, right? So you have to look at the reading passage. So the actual topic here is very simple. It's difficult to monitor what countries are doing with the nuclear energy that they're using. That is the key here. So the risk is, it's saying that the technology that's used to produce nuclear energy is also the similar technology that's used to produce weapons. And according to the reading passage, this is where you're getting mixed up. You're saying this is coming from the listening, which is false. It's the International Atomic Energy Agency, excuse me, that they have difficulty monitoring what countries are doing with the enriched uranium that they're using. For example, are they using it to produce weapons? Are they using it for nuclear energy? So that is the idea that you want to point out as coming from the reading passage, not coming from the lecture. The lecture is talking about an example of a dramatic nuclear accident in the former Soviet Union. But that does illustrate that there's more risk. So in addition to the risk of not being able to monitor what countries are doing with the rich uranium that they use, the other risk is the risk of accident. And that's what is illustrated in the listening passage.
to control countries which are going to use this nuclear technology for energy or for nuclear weapons. Furthermore, the accident may happen.
So this is when you all you've said so far is about the reading passage, but you're kind of getting mixed up who is saying what here. But according to the listening passage, or the listening passage gives an example of a nuclear accident which occurred in the former Soviet Union, which further supports the idea that there are risks with nuclear energy. That is the connection.
Nuclear plants. And give us the example of the worst accident happened in former Russia in 1986.
Well, so they gave an example of the worst accident, which or that happened there. So you need to use either that or which. You need an adjective clause there. That way you don't have multiple subjects or multiple verbs within the same sentence. So if you use that or which, you're introducing a dependent clause there, and that way you don't have any sentence structure errors. What can you do? Go to my website. I'd like you to study this section in grammar. Study the lesson titled Adjective Clauses and make sure you understand how to use those and make sure you're comfortable with that or which.
And how much was the effect and cost of this explosion?
So you spent a lot of time talking about the reading passage, probably too much time, and you got a little bit mixed up as to where all this information is coming. Now, what I want to do now is I'm going to give you a score here, and then let's translate what this means into your in-grade, right? So I'm going to click on the link here. So if we take a look at delivery, we find, I think what you can do here is you need to improve your delivery specifically with thought groups and blending. You can go to pronunciation lessons 41 through 44 to learn more about that. I think you can also make some improvements with your intonation. Again, go to pronunciation lessons 36 through 40, all of which deal with intonation. Language use. You're having trouble combining your sentences together and showing what the relationship is. And why is that? I think part of your problem is you're having problems forming complex sentences. That means sentences with multiple clauses and multiple verbs. To solve that problem, you need to become more familiar with 3 specific areas, I think, of your grammar. So if you want to do this, you can go to my online TOEFL course right now. And I'm going to suggest some grammar lessons for you. Okay, let's go together here. So I'm going right now. Let me type in my password. Okay. Okay, let's do that. So we're going to the 3rd section of my course. Now, what you have to do here is going to take some work. It's not going to be easy, but you definitely can solve your problems with complex sentences. So here are my recommendations. So if you go to step 3, the grammar part of my course, I'd like to have you take a look at lesson number 4, sentences with appositives. Lesson 6, sentences with adjective clauses. Lesson 6.1, using that and which and adjective clauses. Lesson number 7, noun clauses. Lesson 8, adverb clauses. And also lesson number 9, multiple clauses. So you need to work on improving your ability to create sentences with multiple subjects and multiple verbs. That's an area that you definitely can make improvements in. Okay, let's go to topic development. Topic development, I'm going to be honest with you, it was a mess. And part of the mess in your response was you weren't clear which information was coming from the reading passage and which information was coming from the lecture. So a lot of the information that you described underneath the listening, it actually came from the reading passage, and you didn't really fully explain all of the important points in listening passage. So those are some problems with topic development. So on this one, based on your response here, I'm going to put you at 2.0 out of 4, 15 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. Now you want to go to the syllabus. Let's figure out what your grade is here. So for, I'm going to go to the syllabus right now. We got to figure this out. So let's go to, I think it's page 9. Here it is. So I gave you 2.0 right here. So speaking right now, I'm going to put you at 70%. Now, here's my recommendation for you. If I were you, here's what I would do. Start posting speaking practice tests every day. If you want to do a practice test, you can pick any of the ones from my website and then start sending them to me by email, and I'll give you comments on a day-to-day basis. Now, I will not make it will not affect your grade, any of these things that you do, but what it will do is it will prepare you for the other 2 practice tests in this course. Now, I recommend that you do the same thing with integrated writing. Start picking some integrated writing practice tests. You can complete them and send them to me the next day. My TA will score those quickly so you can get more practice in those areas. So, again, all of these things are done just for your practice. It will not affect your grade in my course. But I think if you practice more speaking and more writing, I think you definitely can make improvements. But right now, your academic speaking right now is not as good as it needs to be. You see what I'm saying? So work hard. Remember that anything that you can do right now to improve your exposure to the language, I think, is good. That means reading magazines, reading newspapers, reading books. That means watching TV in English where they focus on news, documentary, history, and most importantly, science programs. So if you can increase your exposure right now with your listening and your reading, it will also help you with your speaking. All right? Okay, thank you very much for completing this practice test.